there, Gary Parrish. Welcome back. CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball Podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting dodo birds in leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. You're watching on YouTube. You know what to do to the like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel. It would be unbelievable if you just went ahead and knocked that out. Let's get into it. Lots of places to start, but there's, I don't think, any funnier place to start than in Hartford, Connecticut, where UConn beat Butler 80-78 in overtime. Congrats to the Huskies. Our condolences to the Bulldogs, whatever. The good stuff came with 2:58 remaining in the first half. UConn's up by 10. Dan Hurley, he's mad about something or another, so he's yelling at the ref about something or another. Ref turns his back on Dan, at which point Dan Hurley yells, and I quote, "Don't turn your back on me. I'm the best coach in the effing sport." That's not what he says?
I did a lip reading 5 times. I'm pretty sure he said, "Don't you big time me. I'm the best coach in the bleeping sport." So don't same meaning, different words, but he thought the ref was big timing him, and you don't big time Dan Hurley in the middle of a game.
Apparently not. I've seen it multiple ways. Either way, the sentiment is the same. Like, this is really something that happened last night in a basketball game. After the game, Dan was asked about it. To his credit, he didn't try to deny it or act like he forgot. He copped to it. Let's watch it together. A moment from the press conference. Dan Hurley asked about this moment during the game.
I think TV got you saying something like, "Don't turn your back on me, I'm the best coach."
Did I say that? Yeah. I mean, I know we you know, I'm going to sound like an asshole here, so, you know, he just, I want some level of communication too, especially when you just, you know, made a, you know, I think what had happened was on that particular play, I think, you know, Alex got fouled by screen on the on a defensive rebound. He got fouled when he went up for the defensive rebound, and he kind of stumbled backwards. And while he was stumbling backwards, he got held. You know, they ended up being a jump ball. So now we lost the possession arrow, which now that possession arrow, you know, that's an issue when you get to late game, or like we saw in overtime. Right now we have to guard with 0.7. So the TV likes me, camera. I bet you I'm going to have the GAs. I'll release it to the media too. What was the game on today? It was on FS1. I just, you know, I just wish they'd put the camera on the other coach more.
First question, Norlander, do we need the camera on Thad Matta more? Maybe. Dan Hurley told a ref last night to acknowledge him because he's the best coach in the sport. How hard did you laugh when you saw it? And what else can we say about Dan Hurley and stuff like this?
Well, I got to be honest. I thought the chances we would start the Wednesday going into Tuesday night, I thought the chances we would start the show based on a head coach's behavior, quotes, you know, I'd put it at 50% chance, and then I would put it at 80% that it would have been Mick Cronin. But I went and I watched the post-game press conference. We'll get to UCLA beating Wisconsin before the end of the show, but no news from Mick Cronin. That's actually our poll question today. Which coach do you prefer, I guess, from a temperament standpoint, Dan Hurley or Mick Cronin? Because these guys, it's one or the other practically every day, if not every week. This got passed around. Also, Dan Hurley, I don't think this was, I think this is a GA that's helping run his Twitter account, but then he dropped a falling down meme on Twitter late Tuesday night where, if you haven't seen it, have you ever seen Falling Down? Michael Douglas, 1993.
Norlander, who you think you're talking to?
Never. It might be the most underrated movie of the 1990s.
Norlander, I'm a film guy.
Aren't you?
I've seen Honora twice.
Okay. Honora and Falling Down, not exactly in the same genre there. Anyway, really good film. If you're young and you haven't seen it, go back and watch. Really, really good film. So he posts the whole Michael Douglas thing, puts his face over and says, "Am I the bad guy? How?" and all this stuff. So there's a lot going on here. There is a cheekiness with Hurley that I can appreciate. He was able to be cheeky after the fact because UConn won. UConn has never lost. Did you realize this? Maybe you realized it in studio last night. UConn's never lost to Butler. It's 11-0 all time. Undefeated against Butler. I didn't realize that till last
I never lost at Butler. What's the big deal?
Well, you've also never played Butler, so there's a
All right,
difference
whatever.
in that one. Troublesome game for UConn just in terms of, Butler's not good. It's lost 9-10, something like that. And you needed overtime. Multiple options and instances where Butler almost won the game. There still is no Liam McNeely. I've got a court report lead today about how freshmen actually matter in a real way for the first time in many, many years in college basketball. And in that, I've got a line about, after I lay out how many freshmen are doing how many great statistical things. Oh, by the way, UConn, the feeling is its season will get back on track once a freshman returns. And that has not been the case, obviously, with this program, even though it's had some good freshmen in recent seasons. The value that McNeely is apparently bringing to UConn is on a level that even surpasses what Steph Castle was doing last season with all the talent around him, and then Klingon and everyone the year before. Hurley, I'm going to repeat what I said in November. I have no issue with Hurley being like this. I understand that a lot of folks are going to be all too willing, eager, able, and ready to hate Hurley, and Hurley has a self-awareness about this. I think that you can get yourself into trouble once you're really finding yourself in a moment where you are saying, you're basically going to, I want to speak to your manager mode in the middle of a game and saying, I'm the best coach. I'm not saying he's wrong if he calls himself the best coach in the effing sport. I'm not saying it's wrong, but there's one thing to think it, and there's another thing to get to a point where you're actually saying it out loud. He's got to know that he's going to be on camera when this happens. The fact that he now wants to produce live sports television and indicate where the director should be going with how much camera time the opposing coach can get. Listen, you get Hurley versus Cronin in a matchup, I guarantee you Dan's going to get his wish. He's going to get just as much time as Cronin. But Thad Matta, all due respect, he's a nice man. Butler's not a good team. He isn't remotely compelling on camera. They're going to go to him almost every single time. What were your takeaways on what was an unexpectedly dramatic game on a pretty big night Tuesday in college hoops, where UConn, as a function of what Hurley is and what he represents and what he did again, finds himself, an easy talking point and an easy point for some that want to criticize him?
First off, wildly disrespectful to Thad Matta. All right, that man coached Mike Conley.
He did. Come on. It's not
his all-time scoring leader.
That man isn't in the top 50 coaches I want to see a camera on in the middle of a game. That's just not the case.
That man coached Mike Conley, Grizzlies all-time scoring leader. This is wildly disrespectful to Thad Matta. All right? Ohio State ain't been the same since Thad Matta left there. All right?
I can't argue.
Put a camera on Thad Matta. I will watch it at a principal.
Yeah. Okay.
I want an alternative. I want a FS7 camera on Thad Matta. With John Fanta doing play-by-play on Thad Matta on the sideline. That's what I'm after. All right? Wildly disrespectful to Thad Matta. First off, my sense of humor is very simple. I laugh at things that are funny, period. Whether they're inappropriate or not. If something's funny, I laugh at that. And then I go, oh, man, I wish I wouldn't have laughed at that. I guess I shouldn't have laughed at that. But if something's funny, I can't help myself. Yes. That was funny.
It was funny. Dan Hurley, listen, you can hate. Dan Hurley is funny when he does this stuff. Even if he's as angry as can be and is hitting a level 5 DEFCON or level 1, I guess. I always get that chart messed up. He's always, go ahead, JB. He's almost always funny when he does this, no matter what.
Telling an official he shouldn't be doing what he's doing right now because you're the best coach in the effing sport is hilarious. Okay. So when I saw that, I laughed. And then when I saw the replay and I was like, did he really? And then I laughed again. And then when I saw the press conference, I laughed again. And all of it was funny. And I guess this is where I'm at on it. I'm just not going to care every game, every week, every month. Is this the way I think I'd coach if I were a coach? No, but it's the way he coaches, and he's obviously great at it. And if he crosses lines, there are rules in place, and it's the official's job to keep him in line, not mine, not yours. So you can ask me, and I know you're not. I'm not trying to tee you up on this, but like people can ask me every week what I think about this, and I'll just say the same thing every week. Like when I think it crosses the line, I'll say, yeah, I think it crossed the line. And when I think it's just funny, like that was just funny, I'll say that was just funny. And when he cost his team a game, I'll say, well, yeah, that cost his team a game. And when he does something and it looks like it deserved a tech, but he didn't get one, because that happens all the time, I'll say, yeah, he probably deserved a tech there, but he didn't get one. I guess that goes hand in hand with being the best coach in the effing sport. I just I don't know what else to say about it. Last night wasn't troubling to me. It wasn't disgusting to me. I thought last night was funny. That was a funny college basketball moment. And then he handled it, I thought, hilariously in the post game. So best I can tell, UConn fans don't seem to really care. Some of them might change it if they could or adjust it, but they like the bottom line. They got trophies. And best I can tell, the administration doesn't seem to care. By Dan's own acknowledgement a few weeks ago, ain't nobody come and talked to him and said, you need to do this, A, B, C, D. So if UConn fans don't care and UConn's administration doesn't seem to care, I don't know why I'm supposed to care. I'm just going to laugh when it's funny. Last night, I thought it was funny.
Hurley also said, quote, I've created this for myself. I'm not the victim. I wish they would not have the camera on me 90% of the time, unless they feel like it's driving ratings and more a-holes on Twitter can put clips of me from a game and say, what a monster, end quote. This is also good for college basketball. I said this in November when they were losing in Maui, and some of the stuff that Hurley was saying was obviously much more ripe for criticism, and understandably so. He's demonstrative. He is a coaching star. He transcends the sport. He is someone that UConn fans will defend practically to the end. And if you're not a UConn fan, I think there are plenty of people that just find enjoyment and find an entertainment factor. Like UConn playing Butler at home, Butler's not good. I think there's a portion of the sports watching population that may just tune in to watch that game for a few minutes just to see, all right, what are the two-time champs doing, and what's Dan Hurley going to look like when they show him on camera? I think there is an element to that, and I think that's ultimately a good thing for college basketball. He also said, and I don't have the quote up here in front of me, I was trying to pull it, GP. I saw it late last night. So this is a paraphrase, but he again said, or he expressed frustration in the inconsistency of the whistle that UConn is getting. It's not exactly headline-making news. Coaches frequently will have this. Mick Cronin himself, and along with others, have done this. But Hurley still has not gotten to the point where he feels as though UConn is getting the type of whistle that it should be, and that is also noted. My last thing on this, and because we got to get to a lot that happened on Tuesday, I do think that having so much of what Hurley does as a coach has obviously worked to incredible ends. But if you allow yourself to get into the headspace of, I'm the best coach in the sport, I'm better than you, get out of my way, don't you turn your back on me, you might find yourself in a spot where that mindset drifts from the things that got you to that place to begin with. Hurley meditates every day. He's got, a 14-step process that he does before every game by means of his superstition. So I think he's generally aware of that, but in those moments of passion and on-court diatribes, I think he loses it a little bit, and that's where he opens himself up to more criticism. But if the cameras want to show Thad Matta, Shaheen Holloway, I don't see Chris Holtman really getting that crazy. By all means, if that's what he's looking for and he wants to produce, live broadcast, by all means, knock yourself out. But Hurley is, while there are plenty of entertaining coaches, when it comes to his level, he's one of one. There's no one like him in college basketball, and I can't help it. I happen to enjoy it, but I understand the folks that are tired of this. They think he's pompous. They think he's an ass. They think he's a monster, that he's now the villain. In some ways, I guess that is true, but bottom line, college basketball is better for having Dan Hurley in it than not.
Two things, then we'll move on. One, I don't know a coach, not one, who thinks they get a good whistle, not one. So if you want to spend every press conference complaining about the lack of a whistle, every coach in the country can do that. It'd be like if I wanted to spend, the A block of every one of my shows going, and then my kids, I told them to put their shoes on and they just wouldn't do it. I could do that every day. My kids will not put their shoes on when they're supposed to do it. And don't even get me started on brushing their teeth properly without me standing over them. Right. I could do that show every day. It's just
Don't you turn your back on me when you're brushing your teeth.
Every day.
I'm the best coach in this effing house. I'm the best dad in this effing house. Don't you turn your back on me when you're brushing your teeth. By the way, the poll question, Parrish, the phrasing, I believe. Nada, what's the exact phrasing here?
Which coach act are you tired of more?
Are you tired of more? 74% say Hurley, 26% Cronin. If we had asked this question 5 days ago, I think that's at least 50-50. We might have some recency bias there.
I don't even care. There are things both of those coaches have done that I'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't have done that, or I don't think I would have done that. But like in the past week, they both made me laugh. Like Mick Cronin being upset about seeing the Statue of Liberty too many times is objectively hilarious to me. Okay, that's
don't look
funny.
Out that plane, Mick. Don't look out the plane window, Mick. We're coming in over LaGuardia. Don't you dare! Oh, there it is.
For people who've never done it,
Liberty again.
You fly to New York City, and it's unlike flying into like almost anywhere else, certainly in the country, perhaps in the world. And you start seeing all these things like, there's the Empire State Building, and you start seeing, and then you do see the Statue of Liberty. It's just there. And the first thing you'll notice is that it is way smaller than you think.
Yes,
it just looks tiny sitting out there. It's like, my favorite thing to do if I'm awake and open to communication is to watch people experience seeing the Statue of Liberty for the first time from a plane. It's always like, are you sure that's it? So the idea that Mick's just fed up with that's funny to me. Dan being offended because a referee was just like turning his body back toward the court to officiate the game he's hired to do is hilarious to me.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good, man.
So like, I don't know, man. I wouldn't know how to vote in that poll question. There have been times where I'm like, yeah, a little too much, but over the past week, I just laughed a lot at both of them. I thought they were both funny.
That's a squirrel.
That's a squirrel move by that ref. Yeah, without a doubt. All right, we got a lot to get to, G.
We got a lot to get to. Up next, it's my favorite game. It's time to play Stay or Hit, presented by Chumba Casino. But first, let's get a word from our partners. All right, now it's time for the Stay or Hit segment brought to you by Chumba Casino. Whether you're chilling at home or on the move, play for the chance to redeem some serious prizes with Chumba Casino. Norlander today, always a special edition. We're playing Stay or Hit National Coach of the Year contenders. Norlander, let's start right here. Let's start in Lexington, Kentucky. Mark Pope, I think he's a true National Coach of the Year candidate in year one at UK. If you agree or disagree, either way, you tell me why.
So this is not hit or stay. This is stay or hit.
This is just. Do you want to just explain to me why you think Mark Pope is a Coach of the Year candidate? And if you don't think he is, fake it for a second. We're playing Stay or Hit right now. I gotta
make the case even if I don't believe it.
You act like you never played Stay or Hit before.
I haven't. I've played hit or stay. I'll play Stay or Hit with you. Brought to you by Chumba Casino. He is in the conversation, and by the conversation, I would say right now, Mark Pope is a top. I think he's a top 10 candidate for National Coach of the Year for reasons we have laid out previously. Gets to Kentucky, ton of pressure, rebuilds an entire roster. This team is one of the best offensive teams in the country and has that fan base reinvigorated. A factor in the SEC, although if you listen to the show Tuesday, you know that I said that I am more likely to fade Kentucky in the second half of the season for a variety of reasons. If you want to know those reasons, you haven't listened to the Tuesday pod, it's in the feed. We had the show on CBS Sports Network. So yes, I have him in the conversation, but he would not be near the top of the list.
Okay, now it's time to play Stay or Hit. Do you want to stay on Mark Pope or hit on Iowa State's TJ Otzelberger, who picked up another big win last night? They won by 1 million.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely. They destroyed UCF. Keyshawn Gilbert had a really, really good game. I'm gonna hit on Otzelberger. Obviously, he's to this point, his case is much, much stronger. Just by the fact that we've seen what Curtis Jones can do. We've seen what Keyshawn Gilbert can do. Joshua Jefferson had 30 points, 7 boards, 5 assists, 4 steals. And Iowa State dropped 108 points in dominating fashion after having a bumpy game previously. So, yeah, I'm going to hit on Otzelberger.
Do you want to stay on TJ Otzelberger or hit on Illinois, Brad Underwood?
That's a stay on Otzelberger. Underwood's also done a very good job. He has a Big Ten contender, but his team isn't quite as good as Iowa State. And to this point, I would put him a notch below Otzelberger.
Do you want to stay on TJ Otzelberger or hit on Auburn's Bruce Pearl?
To this
Currently
point,
the number one team in the country,
hit on Bruce.
his star player is injured, sidelined with an ankle injury.
Pearl has the head-to-head win over Otzelberger in Maui. He's got the higher-rated team. His team is yet to lose. Granted, it's only been 2 games, but without his best player in the SEC, including a road game against a then-ranked team, has a win. Bruce Pearl right now, I would hit over Otzelberger. So I'm hitting, right? So, yeah, I'm hitting.
And this lands exactly where I anticipated landing.
Okay.
That's why I'm a veteran of stay or hit, presented by Chumba Casino.
Okay.
Are you going to stay on Auburn's Bruce Pearl, or are you going to hit on Duke's John Shire? Are you going to stay on the man who is coaching the number 1 team in America, or hit on the man who is coaching the number 2 team in America, but is number 1 in some computers and owns a win over the man who's coaching the number 1 team in America?
I need the Austin Powers drop. If we're going to continue with it, I'll stay. If we're going to continue with this, and not go to what? Roulette, Baccarat, craps. I feel like we can mix this up, but if we're going to stick with this, I got to drop that in there. I'll stay because Pearl's in the tougher league. He's got the number 1 team. It is close. What Shire's doing is incredible. Duke's number 1 at KenPom, but it is the ACC. I'll stay. Is Shire the last one?
Shire's the last one.
What? No Pat Kelsey love. He's in that conversation right now.
I've got Pat Kelsey love coming up. Don't worry about the Pat Kelsey love, Norlander. I got plenty of it.
You didn't put him on the list for hit or stay
because I didn't want you to hit on him, and I mean I didn't want
only his hot wife can hit on him. I understand.
I didn't want to interfere. Like they got a good thing going, best I could tell.
There's no hitting on Pat Kelsey allowed on this podcast. Understand?
No, he's got a hot wife. He's got healthy children. He's got a team on a 9-game winning streak. Yes. He's got a national ranking next to his name. Things that we're not going to get in there and interfere with the Pat Kelsey stuff. I did not with these ears want to hear you say, I'll take Bruce Pearl over Pat Kelsey. Not today. I understand why you would say that. I get it. I'm not arguing. I just didn't want to hear it. Not with these ears. Okay. Not with these ears.
That was fair hit.
So there you have it. John Shire, congrats on having a team that's now the co-favorite to win the 2025 NCAA tournament, even though you're starting 3 freshmen and people said you can't start 3 freshmen anymore in college basketball and expect to win.
I think you said
do more, John Shire. Do more. You cannot be National Coach of the Year right now, according to Matt Norlander. He says it's Bruce Pearl down at Auburn. That was Stay or Hit segment brought to you by Chumba Casino. Ready to dive into some excitement? Chumba Casino is where it's at. It's free to play, so just jump right in and explore over hundreds of social casino-style games with fresh new releases every week. Play anytime, anywhere, and enjoy free daily log-in bonuses and an amazing welcome offer. Norlander, now it's time for the Wednesday Whiparound. And what else happened on Tuesday that we need to know about? You know what? Let's just start in the ACC. Can we celebrate? Hey, we're here. We're right where you wanted to be. Can we celebrate the surging Louisville Cardinals? Pat Kelsey took a program that had been run straight into the ground. Right in the ground. 5-35 in the ACC the past 2 seasons under Kenny Payne. Right now, 8-1 in the ACC. 9-game winning streak, 25th in the top 25 and 1. Celebrate Pat Kelsey.
Louisville fans, man, oh man, I'm happy for you guys.
I am too.
You've got a bona fide top 25 team. SMU, now I understand Miami is basically a low major program at this point, but SMU did go on the road and drop 117 points in 40 minutes. And then it comes back and it wound up with 73 here, but it didn't, I want to say it didn't even crack 40 points in this game until under 14 minutes or so to go in the second half. Supremely impressive by Louisville. It lost that game against Kentucky and it hasn't looked back since. The Cardinals have now entered into NCAA tournament team territory, 9 consecutive wins, as you noted. Rain Smith with 10 3-pointers in this game. I had this on up here in the office. I had it on the quad box, but I didn't have Louisville wire to wire win. They were up early. It was never competitive, so I never had the volume on that game. But every time I checked, it was like, oh, there was another 3. Kind of check my live stat broadcast in real time. Okay, Rain Smith with another one. He had 10 threes. Louisville hit 19 of them. It was their most triples in a game in 18 years. And Chucky Hepburn, 16 dimes, man. I mean, it was all over the place. SMU, I've said before on the show, just, they've had a solid record, but they just didn't feel like a real team, a real NCAA tournament team. This was more evidence of that. Meantime, Louisville's the exact opposite. It's moved into that position where Cardinals fans probably want to say it's the second best team in the ACC, and you might have a case. I think I would go Duke, then Clemson narrowly over Louisville, but it's neck and neck. If they played tomorrow on a neutral, I think I'd take Clemson to win. But regardless, there is right now a top 3. And then we can get into where Wake falls in that because they've obviously started really well as well. But before we get to Wake beating UNC, which no doubt deserves some quick convo, where did you say you have the Cards in your top 25 and 1? And what are your what's your level of surprise that Kelsey has been able to do this, considering multiple season-ending injuries to his team, and this was a 6-5 team, as of December 20th, and now we look up and they're 15-5.
Well, when they were 6-5 and got injury issues, I did not expect them to run off 9 straight.
I put him in the ground.
Yeah, I don't know that I put him in the ground.
I did. I'm going to own it. I put him in the ground. I said, this isn't going to go well. This first year, you're going to be fine. It's going to be bumpy. Year 2 is when the real movement should happen. The movement's here.
Well, like I did have these thoughts where, I'm always trying to think of things from how would I feel if I were going through what these people are going through. And it's not always a great exercise. It's usually just a waste of time. But that's where my mind always goes with anything. And like I there was this moment where I was like, what is it like to be Pat right now? We did that Candid Coaches series, and it's like, who's going to be more successful, Mark Pope or Pat Kelsey? And it was like pretty overwhelmingly the votes we got were Mark Pope. And so you got to see that. I'm assuming you saw that. Mm-hmm. And then the season starts, and oh man, because it's like this weird deal where these 2 in-state rivals, and they both got new coaches at the exact same time. One's not ahead of the other. It's like we're both starting basically from scratch. Let's see who can do it. Let's go. And at Kentucky, it gets off to an amazing start, and at Louisville, not so much. And then Kentucky beats Louisville, and there was this moment I was like, man, like he's got a hot wife and healthy kids and multi-million-dollar contract, all that stuff. But I bet you this is kind of hard. And I bet this is a little difficult. I bet you run it in your head a million times how this thing's going to go. And I bet it's not going the way he envisioned. Right. So in that moment, I didn't bury them, but I didn't think this was where we're at. And yet they started playing better. They're surging now. Yeah, I think taking advantage of a down ACC. Like you shouldn't be if the ACC were what the ACC should be, we shouldn't be able to reasonably say right now Louisville is the second best team in the ACC. This is not the caliber of team that should be the second best team in the ACC if the ACC were what the ACC should be. But it really might be the second best team in the ACC right now. It's only the second team in the top 25 and 1 from the ACC that I have. Mm-hmm. I got Duke at 2 and Louisville at 25. Nobody else anywhere. So this is terrific. And there was this little, very small thing that happened in the past week or 2 that I thought just, I know Kentucky and Louisville fans hate each other, or at least they don't love each other. I'll let them figure out how they feel about each other.
Sure it's hate. Yeah,
okay, it might be hate.
Yep, it's hate.
But the coaches are both men who seem to be decent men, and they both seem to have a certain level of respect for each other. This is what I'm talking about. We talked when Mark Pope was at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
And he had that moment with the UK fan who was in Starkville. And we talked about it, and it went viral. But do you know, among the hundreds, if not thousands of people who retweeted that, do you know who one of the Pat Kelsey? Yep. Pat Kelsey retweeted Mark Pope having a cool moment with a Kentucky fan. We live in a world where like the Ohio State coach and the Michigan coach in football sometimes act like they can't even like acknowledge each other's school. We've had that before at Ole Miss and Mississippi State, certainly Auburn and Alabama. I like it when even people in real competition can like be civil with each other and like be decent with each other, not to get, too far, but like, it'd be kind of cool if we could get back to that, just broadly speaking as a country. And so I like everything that's happening in that state right now. Louisville basketball is back to a place of respectability after going to a place I thought was unimaginable. Kentucky basketball seems to be filled with like joy right now, and it's fun to watch, and the style of play is great, and the coach is really connected. And, last night was just another good moment in that state for that Louisville program. Like, Pat's got it going, Mark's got it going. Things are good.
Let's stick in the ACC and talk about what I said was the most interesting matchup of the night for me, and that was North Carolina going into Wake Forest. UNC loses, Wake Forest wins. There are takeaways on both ends. I talked about this on CBS Sports HQ on Tuesday night. It's a 67-66 win, although it was a last-second three-pointer from UNC to make it a one-point margin. Wound up being inconsequential. Ultimately, Demon Deacons are 7-1 in the ACC. They've won 6 straight in league play, which is the longest that they have done since 2004-2005. Okay. I believe Chris Paul was on the 04-05 team, right? And then Wake Forest hasn't been 7-1 in the ACC since Duncan was on campus in 1997. That's wild. Hunter Salas had 14-9, but Cam Hildreth was the best player on the floor. Efton Reed also did well. He had 12 points, 9 boards, 4 blocks. Hildreth had 20 points. Trayvon Spillers also had himself a good game. I want to boost up Wake here. It's a big week. They've got Duke coming at home Saturday. They've actually got a pretty critical stretch here, so we're going to have more opportunities to talk Wake Forest. They're a fascinating resume candidate right now. Might have the most intriguing resume of any team in the country because as we refresh all the metrics right now, they have a good record, 15-4. They're 74th in the net. Their strength of record is good, 25, wins above bubble 29. That's gonna really get you in the tournament conversation. Their predictives are still brutal. They have a 79 KenPom ranking. They're 86 at Torvik. They're 64 in BPI. These are all NCAA team sheet metrics. And then even in like KPI, despite the good record, they're 53, which is a resume-based metric, has no predictives there in general. We can get to Carolina in just a second. But where do you land on everything with Wake Forest right now? Was, they did get the win. They got it at home. Carolina took the lead late. They retook it back. They still got more to do. So your thoughts on Forbes' program, which has good marks win-loss, but a lot of the other stuff surrounding it still doesn't necessarily indicate an NCAA tournament team right now.
I cannot imagine how crazy all of this computer stuff drives Forbes.
I debated texting him in real time on the show, but there's a chance that he will call me. I'll say, stop calling. He'll call again, and I can't have that interrupt the podcast, so I'm not going to do it.
He's 15-4, okay?
Anyway.
0 losses to teams outside of the top 50 at KenPom, all right? So no, I guess you don't want to lose to Xavier by 15 on the road, right? But they haven't lost to like any horrific teams, no quad 3, they beat North Carolina last night and go from 77th at KenPom to 79th. And I understand why. I'm not one of those basketball analysts who is confused by stuff that's been explained a million times. I just think that I know that would drive him crazy. I know that would make him nutty. That he's 15-4 and keeps dropping in the computers. I bet you Steve Forbes hate the computers.
Right? I'm going to text him. You're 15-4 and 79th in KenPom as an ACC team.
No, not that. Hey, nice win last night. Couldn't help but notice you dropped from 77 to 79 at KenPom. Return, new graph. What's going on there? Just like that's all you have to do. That's enough. That's enough to get
and we bring this up because Forbes has talked about it plenty on record and off record, and he is as capable as any coach at being self-deprecating while also bitching about the metrics, and that's the only reason why with a lot of coaches we wouldn't dare go there. But Forbes is a good sport.
No, he would be laughing with us. He would be mad as hell, but he would also laugh with us. They're in a good place. 15-4. If I tell you you're the coach at Wake Forest and through 19 games you're 15-4, you're like, all right, we're in good shape. And I go, no, you're 79th at KenPom. I think they'll be fine. I think they're one of the better teams in the ACC. I think the ACC isn't great. I think they'll be fine. I think Steve Forbes is going to have the Demon Deacons in the NCAA tournament for the first time.
You do. I thought this last year and we were wrong. I want to see the next 2 games. I can't go there yet. I want to believe it. I had it in the preseason. You're talking to a guy who had them top 15 in the country in the preseason and thought they would be probably 15-4 or 16-3 by this point in the season. So I want to believe it, but I just want to see a little bit more before I go where you're going.
Well, at least now we don't have to wonder about who loses their faith so quickly. least now we don't.
I had
at
Wake
least-
Forest higher than you in the preseason, just so
Yeah, but
I had the faith before you had the faith. You
fast
found
forward.
you found the Forbes religion well after me.
Fast forward to January 22nd, 2025. I have more faith than you. I woke up today with more faith than
Hashtag faith in Forbes. You got it.
Hashtag faith in Forbes. I woke up on January 22nd with more faith than you. On the other side of that, North Carolina, we're getting there, buddy. 1-7 in quadrant 1, 4-0 in quadrant 2, but just 5-7 in the first 2 quadrants. Got a quadrant 3 loss to Stanford, 2-game losing streak. Not a bury them a few weeks back.
I know. By the way, I think you said 5-7. Did you say 5-7 quadrant 1 and 2? Dude, they're 1-7 in quad 1 right now.
No, 5-7 in the first 2 quadrants.
I know, but I'm saying in quad 1 in general, they're 1-7.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not a don't you dare turn on that mic. We will give you your moment again. We did this 2 years ago. He called it in December. We were like, no, that's gonna be the case. We did it again 2 weeks ago. It's getting slippery, GP.
It's getting slippery. It is getting slippery. Let's go to the Big 12. Another interesting night. Iowa State 108, UCF 83. We mentioned that earlier. Sorry, TJ, you can't be coach of the year, even though you just scored. You are the coach who's more responsible now for the most points Iowa State has ever scored in regulation of a Big 12 game. TJ Otzelberger, you're responsible for that. TJ Otzelberger, you've got a team that's in the top 5. You can't be coach of the year, according to Matt Norlander, presented by
only one
Chumba.
person can. I think Bruce Pearl right now is on January 22nd. Bruce Pearl being the coach of the year is entirely reasonable. Get on with it.
Take it up with TJ Otzelberger and his biceps. You'll have to take it up with them.
Never.
Josh Jefferson last night got 30 points. There's another one. Transfer from St. Mary's, comes to Iowa State. Now he's balling out. Interesting little scheduling thing coming up for Iowa State. First ever trip to the state of Arizona for back-to-back conference road games. They're going to Arizona State and then at Arizona in what amounts to the first big Monday of the college basketball season. Right now, Arizona and Iowa State are tied for second in the Big 12 standings behind only Houston. And this is interesting. I pointed this out in the top 25 this morning. Houston is 2-3 in quadrant 1 with 0 wins over teams ranked in the top 25 or teams ranked even in the top 35 at evanmia.com. So every once in a while, a Houston fan will be like, we're 3rd in the computers and you have us 18th. Why? Because Jerry Palm's got them as a 5 seed right now. There's just not much there. They have incredible computer numbers. I don't doubt that they're great, but the resume is just they're 2-3 in quadrant 1, 0 wins over teams in the top 25 Any thoughts on Iowa State blasting UCF to add another win to what is an impressive resume?
I actually don't have any thoughts, and I know we're on a time crunch, and there are much more relevant results from Tuesday night. So let's keep it moving. Texas Tech is number 11 at Ken Palm, won 81-71. And might be the most under the radar, really good team in the entire country. Where do you have them ranked in your top 25 I know the resume is very tricky. It's like Wake Forest-ish kind of, but Cincinnati is turning into one of the bigger disappointments. I don't know what's going on with the Bearcats, but I thought going into that game, they would right themselves, get a really good, tough performance. It wasn't that whatsoever from Wes Miller's crew. So that's a whole other issue. Meantime, Texas Tech, top 10 offense in the country, and I want to at least give them a little bit of love here after getting another road win. I think they've won 6 consecutive road games in Big 12 play.
Maybe we can throw all this stuff together. West Virginia loses in Morgantown to Arizona State after jumping into the top 25 following their weekend win over Iowa State. I got West Virginia out of the top 25 The Mountaineers were replaced by Texas Tech. They're number 26. The Red Raiders are 26th right now. Let's go to the SEC. Texas 61, Missouri 53, Tennessee 68, Mississippi State 56. Missouri, this was one of those, this is life in the SEC type of situations. You've been playing well. Another big victory over the weekend. You got an opponent that's been struggling, but even a struggling opponent in the SEC creates a tough road game for you. Missouri was going this way. Texas was going this way. Missouri was still an underdog on the road. Texas wins at 61-53. I don't think anything that happened in the SEC on Tuesday night made me change my opinion on much of anything that matters in the SEC on Tuesday night. Tennessee is 10-0 at home now. All 10 wins have come by at least 12 points. So you can look at that and go, man, they beat Mississippi State by double digits. They've beaten everybody by double digits in that building this season. They're awesome in Knoxville.
Yeah, they did. And Chaz Lanier, Not really much on the Tennessee-Mississippi State game. It went the way I thought it would go. Tennessee was in control. Mississippi State could not get it in the hoop in the first 12, 13 minutes of the game. Cameron Matthews only had 2 points, which is going to be a problem every single time. Chaz Lanier got back on his groove, 23 points. So good win. Bama 103-87 over Vandy. It's only notable in this regard. Credit to our CBS Sports Research team. Alabama got 100 again. So over the past 3 seasons, Nate Oates' program has 21 games with 100 or more points. That is clearly the most in the country in that span. Gonzaga has 17 such games against much lesser competition frequently. Arizona with 13, and then Kentucky has 12. And a few of those Kentucky ones are obviously with Pope, but Cal had a good team a season ago as well on the offensive end. But Bama wins, completely understandable. Real quick on Texas-Mizzou. In today's court report, my second item is about how the selection committee will eventually, I wanted to get a little bit ahead of it. This will become more of a talking point as we drift into February and then really into March. How many bids is the SEC going to get? And I say, let's just, for discussion purposes, I put the number at 12. Well, if it's at 12, what's inevitably going to happen is you're going to have some challenging bracketing procedures where the committee tries to avoid intra-conference teams meeting each other for as long as possible. But when you have 12, second-round matchups will be inevitable. Give it a read. Talk to a source with the NCAA committee about all that stuff. And it's going to be intriguing to see how, if we get 12 teams in, how they line up and what the committee will be forced to do. On that note, Texas being one of those 12 teams, I think beating Missouri was really critical. 61-53, Kaluma was really good. 14 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Trey Johnson is their most electric player, but I really feel like the barometer is Kaluma. He came up big. It was Texas's first win against a ranked opponent this season. You can't lose these home games. I thought it was notable that UT held Mizzou to 53 points. This is a Missouri team that was averaging 85 a game going into the night. Didn't shoot well whatsoever from 3. Good job by Rodney Terry's team. Texas might be fated to be somewhere like a 9, 10, 11 seed. I think it's going to get in. It's not going to be a super inspiring team, but it's got to get the wins at home. And I thought that was pretty critical overall. Want to move to the Big Ten?
In the Big Ten, Ohio State 73, Purdue 70, UCLA 85, Wisconsin 83. 2 notable results there. Purdue, 26-game winning streak inside Mackey Arena is snapped. Mackey Arena got Diebler'd. Add it to the list. Add Mackey Arena to the list.
So what you're saying is buildings don't stand a chance against Diebler.
That's what it looks like.
It looks like your philosophy on trusting buildings is falling away brick by brick.
The Diebler variable changes everything, Norlander. You know that as well as I do.
Everyone knows
the
about
Diebler variable. Do I trust buildings? Yes. But when you take a building I trust and put it up against the Diebler, I got a real banging of the heads going on. Add it to the list. Mackey Arena, Ben Diebler. Add it to the list along with Izzo, Painter, Hoiberg, Peichel, McCaffrey, Pope, and of course, Gottlieb. Gottlieb got Diebler. You can look it up.
Gottlieb got a lot of things.
He's been Diebler'd a lot.
By the way, Diebler 11-8 at Ohio State this season. That was a big win for Ohio State's NCAA tournament hopes. Has the win over Texas, the aforementioned Texas, the win against Purdue, and then they beat, we saw them, Kentucky, CBS Sports Classic. It's going to take a lot more, but a nice showing and a genuine surprise for Purdue to lose this game. Micah Parrish.
It's my little cousin.
Yeah, okay. That was okay. So he's your little cousin. Okay.
That's right.
Do we need to do a 23andMe on that, by the way?
I would love to do a 23andMe with Micah Parrish. I mean, I would love to do that.
Yeah. We go all the way back. Is there going to be a common ancestor? Do we really think that's the case, Gary Parrish?
I hope so. I would love to
be
related to Micah Parrish. That would be like a gift from God.
Micah Parrish transformed into a combination of Ray Allen and Buddy Hield in the second half of this game. Ohio State went on a 15-0 run. I think it was down by as many as 16 in this one. It got it done. Parrish had a career-high 22 points. And yeah, it's a good win. Purdue hadn't lost at home in almost 700 days. And Braden Smith was 3 of 14 from the field. That was one of a few reasons that Purdue couldn't pull it off. But yeah, good win for OSU. It's Purdue's first loss in a month. I'm not going to take too much from it. By the way, the win now has Ohio State and Purdue all time 94-94 versus each other. Now you know. UCLA beats Wisconsin. This game was on Peacock, and I know as a function of being on Peacock, some college basketball fans just aren't going to be prone to go and find it, or if they don't even have a subscription to Peacock. So sometimes these games can float a little bit under the radar. But it is notable because the game was really, really good. Mick Cronin had Nothing notable to say after. Adai Mara had his best game yet, 7'3", 22 points, 5 boards, 2 blocks, didn't miss a shot from the field. Sebastian Mack, him and Mara came off the bench. Mack had 19 points, and UCLA gets what I think was a morale-boosting and reaffirming win just to beat a quality Big Ten team. Wisconsin was 1.26 points per possession in this game on the road against a good team. More than 1.25 points per possession, and you lose. They were 10 of 19 from 2. They hit 15 of their 33-point shots, Parrish. 50% from three-point range on the road against a good conference opponent, and only 3 missed foul shots, 18 of 21 from the line, and you still lose. Cronin had no bad things to say about the whistle afterward. I think Wisconsin fans might not necessarily agree with them, but it was a really, really good Big Ten game, and UCLA needed it. They were able to pull it out at home, and a quality matchup. And I thought that was a lot of teams got some important victories. I think Wake might be the most important one. Like Wake was important, Texas was important, but on some level, I feel like UCLA, to avoid full-on panic, needed to beat a quality team, and it got it done in Westwood on Tuesday night.
Before we get out of here, we're going to look ahead to the next 2 nights. We'll do that next, but first, let's get one more word from our partners. All right, Norlander, real quick, let's look ahead to the next 2 nights. We got a doubleheader tonight, CBS Sports Network. I'll be in studio for it. Inside College Basketball, 7:30 Eastern, 8 o'clock, Boise State at Colorado State, 10 o'clock, San Diego State at Air Force. Around midnight Eastern, Inside College Basketball will recap the night. Elsewhere, number 12, Kansas is at TCU. Xavier at number 20, St. John's. Texas A&M, ranked 13th in the AP poll, down in Oxford at number 16, Ole Miss. That's the only ranked-on-ranked matchup on the schedule tonight. Thursday night, we got a quadruple header on CBS Sports Network with the nightcap tipping at 11 Eastern, Washington State at Santa Clara. Herb Syndex Broncos obviously coming off of that big win over Gonzaga. Elsewhere on Thursday, Wichita State at number 24, Memphis. Maryland at number 17, Illinois. What, if anything, interests you with all that stuff going on over the next couple of days?
Maryland, Thursday night, Maryland at Illinois is a really, really tasty affair there, and see if Maryland can keep it competitive. Derek Queen, this week's court report leads on how good freshmen are, and Derek Queen's among many of them, and obviously Yakachonis has been like a top 5 freshman in the country clearly at this point. So that's a good one in the big time game on Thursday. That's a 9 Eastern tip. As for tonight, eyes will be on A&M, Ole Miss. Wade Taylor IV is back. Rebels get this game at home. Pretty high-profile game and a good opportunity. And from a scheme standpoint and how Buzz versus how Beard kind of run their stuff, that's super intriguing to me. Georgia is at Arkansas. We're getting to the end of the show here, but John Rothstein reported late Tuesday night. I don't know if the school has confirmed this yet as we tape this. I haven't been checking. But Boogie Fland apparently out for the year. Done. Due to a hand injury. Calipari had said a couple days ago that it had been a lingering issue, and there was some buzz about would he shut it down. If he is indeed done, whether it's a full legitimate hand injury, he can't do it, or if this is at the advisement of agents and others saying team sucks, get ready for the draft, you can be a lottery pick. Whatever the reason, Arkansas's hopes are torpedoed. Here they have a home game against Georgia, significant there. I don't know if you mentioned Indiana at Northwestern. That's a Big Ten 7 Eastern tip on Wednesday. That's a pretty big game for both teams. Indiana got to go on the road, see what they can do there. Xavier at St. John's is must-see, in my opinion. Tuesday was solid. I actually think Wednesday's slate top to bottom is better overall. GP will be in studio for CBS Sports Network, obviously, and whatever results come about, I'm likely to do a CBS Sports HQ hit tonight to recap what's out there. For Kansas at TCU, TCU isn't that good this season, but it is a road game. That program has picked off Kansas a couple of times in the past, 7-8 years overall. And KJ Adams is going to be out for at least 3 weeks, Bill Self said on radio on Monday. Flory Badunga is substituting in his place, so they're still going with a 2 big look there. But Badunga's got some real promise to him. Keep an eye on that. I would not be surprised if Badunga actually hits and they're productive. I wouldn't be stunned if he can hold his starting spot in that lineup there. But yeah, there's a lot up and down. GP Florida at South Carolina. Gators going against a bad SEC team. Can you avoid getting Devin Downey there? Just kind of across the board. I'll be dialed in. It's a quality Wednesday night.
Let's get out of here. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry Teagle. legend. Huck Larnell, thank you guys once again for watching and listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. More of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments. So please do that. And we'll talk to you again on Friday morning. Can't wait. Till then, take care.